Hello and welcome to the workshop. Well, this week we're going on quite a little magical adventure because I'm going to be making quite a lot of props for a production of Disney's Beauty and the Beast. I of course am the Beauty. Alright, fair enough. Wasn't that funny? And the clock. But still, had you going for a second there? Now, eagle-eyed one, you might notice a set piece I made last year, which is going to be rejigged to form the west wing where the titular rose that loses its petals is going to be placed. And that's where we're going to start. But in the course of this, I'm going to be making stakes for beating the beast, knives and guns and all sorts. So, stick around. Let's roll the intro! So the first thing that was requested was to make this a movable set piece. So I'm going to solve that very simply here by creating a platform the same shape as the bottom of this set piece and attaching casters. So it's all very simple, very quick, and of course I'm using the NE 5000 Ultimate Clamp here to line everything up. But with that done, we're going to start making this into what we want, which is a sort of like a statue hole that you would see in an old castle or something like that. And for that, we'll go straight to it. You can see here I'm rather awkwardly marking the curve of this balcony. I'll use this to make a top and a bottom that we will bend around to form our soldier hole. So I'm going to start on the top, and a good tip for this kind of stuff, if you're working above your height, which I am almost all the time, is to pre-start your screws so you're not trying to push them in while you're working over your head. Off camera, I made this little X brace to support the bottom of our statue hole. All I did here was just to screw in the longer piece vertically sticking out, and then the other two are just toe screwed in, and I'll just screw that down because I'll be filling it later. One thing I learned from making this originally is that the best way to measure your curved piece is to actually use a tailor's tape. This is super flexible and gives you a really accurate chord length of that piece. Of course you could do it mathematically, but this is quicker and more accurate. And now I have the unenviable task of actually attaching and trying to bend it over. Now if I use specific bendy ply, this will be a lot easier, but all I'm doing here is I'm taking it nice and slow and gluing these in place and stapling it every inch or so and just slowly introducing that bend. And what's helping me here as well is I've glued a small piece to the bottom to keep everything nice and flush because I can't track how it's going at the top. In the end, just to close up that gap along the sides, I add a few solid strips, and they help take a little bit of bow out of the middle and also close it all off. And then we paint, and we're done. It would be great if it was this fast in real life. Warning, the following may contain scenes that some viewers are not comfortable with, and contains barefaced nudity throughout. As you can see, that made a huge difference. It looks good. Not my face, but the set. So the next thing we need to make is the enchanted mirror. So I happen to find this second-hand makeup mirror. It quite handily comes off its stand. So if I extend the handle, we get a bit of magic by touching this little kind of induction button. The light up their face looks amazing. But this looks like a relatively inexpensive plastic mirror. So we need to fancy this up a bit. So you can see I'm going to put up in the corner here a few photos of the mirror from Beauty and the Beast. Now it's an oval mirror and it's one piece. But what we're going to do is bring in elements of that. The first thing I'm going to do is take the mirror back off this, put in a solid back. We'll add some filigree to give it that effect. We'll spray the whole thing silver. I'll add a bottom here, I'll turn a piece. We'll use some old leather belts to create those kind of chains and give a grip. And they should be stage ready. So as I said, first thing, take out this mirror back. Now luckily, this is designed for easy access, and also the mirror comes out. So I'll quickly show you how I'm going to do that. I'll take out both this and the front mirror, and we'll start working. Now this is a real mirror, so I want to be careful not to break it. Handily though, it's not actually glued in. They're both held in with these little plastic rings that easily pop out, and voila, our mirror is removed safely. So I'm going to hang on to this because I'm going to put a solid back in it. I'm just going to use this as a template to make my new mirror piece. So as it happens, the form I apply is just about the right thickness for replacing this. I'll just have to sand the edges a teensy weensy bit just to get it to fit in with the clip. Save me adding glue. So I'm just going to line it up here on this piece of ply and trace around it. Now this is not vital, this is never going back to the way it was, so if I have to glue it in, I have to glue it in, but if I can avoid it, it'll be cooler. Sometimes you just have to know when to admit defeat. It's just not working. So I'm going to glue this in. First I want to put some aluminium tape on the back of this because I want it to reflect more light out the front to make it more intense. I forgot to record, but once I had the aluminium tape on, I glued this in. I used a wick tip on my super glue to allow me to finely control super glue and have no spill out on the front. Now, the effect is not as dramatic on camera, but in real life this does make the whole thing a hell of a lot brighter, so it's really going to bounce on stage. So once I've checked and double checked that everything's nice and upright and straight, I lock it in place with some super glue to make sure that it doesn't move, and it's now a fixed mirror. So I spent a little bit of time looking at some reference images of props that you can buy, what's actually in the film, and what I found is for the stage show they're all completely different. So I'm choosing to go with a more subtle approach here. So I've drawn out a little fleur-de-lis, which is common to almost everything. I'm going to pierce that, put it on, and put a border on. I think that's going to do me for the back. The back is the least exciting part. I want to see the amazing light shining up. So I have my coping saw, I have my little jeweler's, I don't know what you call it, but jeweler use it for this kind of thing, and cup of coffee and take my time doing it. So with the fleur-de-lis in place, I start mixing some 2-part epoxy here. This is to add a little bit of detail to the mirror to make it look a little bit more like the example that you see in the film. So what I need to do here is to knead this for about a minute and a half until it's a consistent grey colour. Then it sets hard in about 4 hours and it can be drilled, sanded and basically shaped as I wish. So I just start working on this to create a kind of a scoop between the handle and the frame and just slowly work it in until I'm happy. And I find with this you can kind of fine shape it by putting a little bit of water on the tip of your glove. It saves you a bit of sanding later. So I'm just going to skip ahead here to when it's done, and it's vital to wear gloves because this will stain your hands, so that's just a pre-warning there. So to add additional detail here, I have an old leather belt and I'm going to cut strips off this to do 2 things. One, the chain wrap that you see on the handle in the existing mirror from the film, and also here I'm just going to put a strip of it around the inside rim of the back of the mirror to give a ridge and a bit more detail. So you'll be seeing those again here, and all I'm doing is very carefully with a sanding blade, just cutting strips about 1/8 of an inch wide, and I'll get out as many as I need here to do both of these jobs. So I've pre-cut this piece to be the exact width, or exact length, pardon me, that I need to go around the perimeter. I'm just starting it off with a drop of glue in the center at the bottom, and I'll slowly work it around, adding a small amount of glue to make sure that I get it tight all along the perimeter. So if I tried to glue all of this at the one time, what I'd end up doing is gluing in places I didn't want to, and it just wouldn't look as good. So taking it gently here. I'm doing about a third because it's quite small, and just slowly working. This is a gel glue, so I have a little bit of time here to pull it back off, put it in to make sure everything is fitted exactly as I want it. And you can see here when I got to the end I was a little bit over length, but that's no harm because that allows me to make that cut over the start point and get everything nice and tight. And when this is covered then with silver spray, it really does stand out beautifully. So the next thing we want to work on here is we're going to turn a new bottom for that handle to give it a little bit of extra length, and again add a bit of detail to match the existing. And now for a little music and magic. And then we start work on the handle once that's glued in. So very similar idea. I'm just doing a ring on the top and the bottom, the same design, or not same design, same method as the ring on the back, and then we add spirals all around to create the effect that we want. After quite a lot of work, we have that crosshatch pattern that we want. Now, another thing I did here is I just cut a piece of card to replace the front, because now it's time to prime. So I have drilled a small little hole in this board to give me a base for spraying, and we'll get going. I lost the video of me applying the silver to this, but what you'll see next is the finished article in the theatre. So for the character of Gaston, I need to make two props. Firstly, I will be making the knife he uses to stab the beast, and then I have his blunderbuss to make. So I've drawn out my knife here, sort of a crusader's dagger, and if you've seen other videos where I've done this kind of stuff, like my spears video, which is somewhere there, it's in the playlist anyway, what I'll be doing is forming the shape in poplar here, and I'll be covering it in aluminium tape, which makes it look like it's real metal, whilst keeping it super safe. So the first thing is I'm going to cut this down to width, and then I'm going to tin it up because I don't need an inch thick knife, and then we'll just start shaping and shaving and see how we go. I am, just because I find it amusing, going to make this like a proper dagger. So I'll be cutting out my blade here, and I'll have a tang that'll go through a guard and a pommel on the end and wrap it, just because I think it'll look cool. And I'll probably end up owning this after the show, so I'll do have nice things. So now I have this thing down to about 12mm, which is a good stage size. I have a center line all the way down here because I want everything to be a mirror. So I'm just going to transfer that center line across and onto this face, so I have a nice reference for when I'm doing the rest of it. If I can find my long ruler, I can, yeah. I also spend a bit of time copying over my sketch so I can work on both sides as needed. First bit of work then, let's cut this tang. It's a lot easier and poplar than steel. Now my saw is making a very unpleasant noise, squeaking, so here I'm grabbing my rag in a can. I learned this from the video with Paul Sellers. I recommend everyone make one. It's just so handy to have around the workshop for basically lubricating your saws and planes, and it leaves no residue. Definitely go watch that video. Now just finish the basic shaping. So I'm just cutting off the tip here in a few pieces to reduce the amount of sanding and other shaping I need to do after this point. Now we have a shape, but before we start the heavy stock removal, same my relief we're making out of metal, I'm going to mark a center line here because I want my bevels, even though they're not going to be sharp or coming to a point, I still want them to be in the center because it'll look nicer. So, I'm down the center all the way along there now. Don't know if you can see that. So I have a center line, and I'm just going to go along like I was sharpening. Work down all four sides evenly so that I get a kind of a ridge in the middle, and it's, you know, there's 3 or 4 mil left here, so I can round over and wrap it in a bit of foil. And I have what's known in knife terms as a ricosso here, so that'll be a square edge where it'll end. Just makes it look a bit more knifey. So you're going to have a short video of me doing this about 5 or 6 times, and it'll be perfect. And we can move on to making the cross guard, the pommel, wrapping the handle, and then putting on our lovely aluminium tape to make this look like steel, and dressing it to make it look old. But for me, well, it's going to be a few hours. Not a few hours, it's going to be an hour probably. It's very dusty, so I'm going to set up my dust extraction, put on a mask, all that malarkey. And there we have it. Dull as a spoon, but it looks real dangerous. So, the next step, as it starts to pour rain around, it's the summer after all, why wouldn't it be raining? The next step is to cut out our guard, fit it here, our pommel, we'll wrap the handle and, well, sorry, we'll apply the aluminium tape before we wrap the handle, because that'll be part of assembling it. And we're almost stage ready. So, as I said, I'm going to make this in a very traditional style, which means that my guard here has to be cut out to go inside my true tang. So I just marked out my mortise here, and I'm very simply just going to knock it out. That'll allow me then to slide my guard down here. I can shape it. Yeah. Now we come to the cross guard. So for the cross guard, I decided to go with a very geometric shape. So it thins up here at the bottom, and then at the top, the same thing, thins out. Takes a bit of weight out of the look of it, but keeps the strength here in case it gets dropped or knocked or whatever. I don't want it to break off. So, bit of time, patient cutting and sanding. So for the pommel here, I just cut myself a little octagon and I chamfered over the edges so we get that kind of traditional octagon sort of pommel. Also a mark in the top where we're going to put in a little dowel. This will do two things. It'll allow me to stick this slightly up above what I'm spraying so I can spray all around it and get it looking really nice. And also it will be the means by which I will attach the pommel to the handle of the dagger. So first thing I'm going to do here is drill that little hole, and then we'll apply some finish, and I will move on to other stuff, but you will be straight back on to this. Now, longer standing viewers of the channel will know what this is about. So this is aluminium tape, used for repairing ducks and stuff, but it's also great for creating fake metal when you want to make props. So I'm going to take a few pieces of this and apply it over our nice finished wooden blade, and then just to make it look a little bit older, a little bit more realistic, we're going to give it a light dusting with some matte black paint, which makes it look like it's pitted and had age.
In order to get a nice smooth metallic finish, I use a combination of a wooden and a PVC dowel to sort of buff and level that out, makes it look more metallic. And then just to make it look a little bit more realistic, I have some metal punches here, and I just punch a maker's mark into it.
Well, it is decided, as it is often does here in the west of Ireland, to be winter in July. So everything has to come into the workshop because my my outside workshop is somewhere out over the Atlantic Ocean. So gonna be real cozy in here to finish the project, but I'm excited because Beast Spain is almost ready. A few drops of glue, a few pins, and this is ready to get a nice handle wrap. So for the handle wrap here, I have gone very simple. This is actually just an off-cutted material from turning up a pair of trousers, and I've applied spray adhesive to both the handle and this material, and the spray adhesive will stick everything into itself, so all I do is wrap it nice and tight and we have a handle. And there it is in all its finished glory, with that little bit of black paint applied to make it look that bit more realistic. Thank you very much for watching these videos. Make sure to tune in a few weeks time when I will show you how I made this blunderbuss and this amazing, magnificent, marvelous machine. So thank you as always for watching to the end of the video, and make sure to try this at home.